Wells Fargo presents one of the surest ways to grow your money. A Wells Fargo CD account, where you can earn a 5.00% annual percentage yield on an 11-month term with a minimum opening deposit of $5,000. Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/CD rates to open a CD account and start growing your savings with us.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, and I hope you all are continuing to have an amazing summer. And for this week's episode, I wanted to bring back an interview that I did with Tara Dower at the end of 2020. In the back of my mind, I've always wanted to somehow bring this interview back because I got an opportunity to interview Tara when I was working on completing the 40-day hikes on the mountains of Sea Trail across the state of North Carolina. And Tara met up with me in the Falls Lake area along the trail, and we did a 2-part interview. I don't really think I did that interview justice for the things that we talked about and what we discussed. And the fun part of this, I totally forgot we did the actual interview inside my van, which was pretty cool. So as I was re-listening to this interview, it brought back so many memories of Tara talking about her own Appalachian Trail journey. She talked about working at the Blue Ridge Hiking Company and specifically working there during COVID. We spent time talking about her Mountains of Sea Trail fastest known time during the month of September 2020. But one of the things that really stood out to me is listening to Tara talk about overcoming her anxiety and how she deals with that if anxiety hits when she is out on the trail. So I've put the episodes part 1 and part 2 together with Tara Dower. And you guys, just a reminder, we did record this episode in December of 2020. So keep that in mind as you are listening to this episode. In the meantime, everybody, again, I hope you're enjoying your summer. Happy section hiking and enjoy this throwback episode with my friend, Tara Dower. All right, you guys, I am back. And as I said, I had an individual that was going to be meeting me, and she showed up. And let me see how I'm going to introduce her. So she has completed the Appalachian Trail as a thru hike. She has worked at the Blue Ridge Hiking Company. She is a guide for the Blue Ridge Hiking Company, or was a former guide. You guys probably know her if you are an MST fan as the fastest known time holder currently for the Mountains of Sea Trail. So welcome to the podcast, Tara Dower, otherwise known as Candy Mama.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That was a great introduction. That was great. You were like, let me think about that. And then you just come out with this awesome introduction.
Like I said, I never know what's going to roll out. I used to be all scripted and stuff, but now I just don't because that's just the way it is.
Yeah, of course.
And we are literally in the parking lot. What's the name of this parking lot?
We have a dam right next to us, but Tail Race parking lot?
Tail Race parking lot.
I never called it that as a kid. Like, we always just call this Falls Dam.
Okay, so we'll call it that. We're at the Falls Dam parking lot. We are actually sitting in my van. So we've been talking about vans and all kinds of stuff because Tara is building out a van as well. So Tara, we're going to do this in 2 parts. So for part 1, we're going to kind of get to know you and your hiking background and what led to the fastest known time for the Mountains of Sea Trail. I'm going to go back to 2017.
Yeah.
Your attempted thru hike of the Appalachian Trail. So maybe talk to us about how you got interested in the AT and what led to 2017.
Yeah, so I've been interested in the Appalachian Trail since I was in college. I remember in 2012 or 13 watching a documentary about the Appalachian Trail that National Geographic had made.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen that particular one, but it was just like an all-encompassing view of the trail life, through hikers. It was great stories, beautiful views. And I've always hiked my entire life. Like I've hiked in this area we're in right now. I've hiked this entire area and all the trails in it. So I've been a hiker, but that just looked like I'm always about challenging myself, as you probably can realize. I'm all about like challenging myself. So the fact that people were out there just doing thousands of miles in like a couple months seemed really interesting to me. But also the fact through this documentary, there's this huge community involved. So I started diving into section hiking and doing it with my friends, just seeing like how I liked it. And I really enjoyed it, even though my first through hike was absolutely terrible. Or not through hike, my first section hike, it was about 30 miles, but it was from Watauga Lake to a little short of Damascus. And it was absolutely horrid because we got rained on. We didn't have any rain equipment and we just got drenched that night.
Okay, when you say you don't have any rain equipment, did you not have any rain gear?
No,
or
and I didn't know. I didn't understand backpacking. We just thought it would be fine and there would be no rain. And I had my brother's, he's 6'1". I had his Boy Scouting pack. So if you know anything about like pack fitting, you should fit it to your individual body.
And you are how tall?
5'7".
Yeah, and your torso is not going to be his torso.
No, it was terrible, but I love the experience of it and just doing whatever and being out there in nature. So I decided after college in 2017, I was going to attempt a through hike of the Appalachian Trail. And that's what I was planning for my entire college. I wasn't really planning for a career. I was like, what am I going to do on this through hike?
I love that too. Okay, so you graduate college, you do all that stuff, you've gone section hikes. Okay, when did you start in 2017?
2017, I started April 12th or 11th.
What happened? How far did you get? And kind of, you don't have to go through the whole deal, but so how many miles did you get in?
So I went 80 miles to Bly Gap. And the first day was great. The second day, I started feeling an amount of anxiety. And that's really when my anxiety became prevalent, when I started realizing like I have anxious tendencies and I just have serious anxiety that kind of debilitates me, because that's exactly what it did. I couldn't go more than a couple hours with just thinking just these really dark, intense thoughts. Like, you're not going to make it. You're never going to see Jonathan again. Like, what is that kind of thinking? Like, you're not going to see him again. And
Jonathan,
true.
Who's your husband now, right?
Sorry, yeah. Jonathan was my boyfriend at the time. Now he's my husband, but he wasn't doing it with me. He was still in college. He had another year left. And so I was thinking, like, you'll never see him again, like, which is completely ridiculous. Like, why would I think that? And for some reason, my head was just all over the place, and I just dark thoughts, and I couldn't stop thinking. And it got to a point, I got to Bly Gap, and I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and I had a severe headache. I had a headache, migraine. I would call it migraine. It was bad. I felt like something was sitting on my chest, like an elephant was sitting on my chest. I couldn't breathe. I was hyperventilating, and it was just waking up. And I called Jonathan up, and he was like, "You're having a panic attack." So, I mean, I couldn't get a hold of myself. I couldn't relax. It was very scary. I've never felt something so intense before. So I ended up calling my closest relatives, who were my grandparents. And so I called them up, they picked me up, and I just reevaluated. It was like, why did this happen? I wasn't enjoying it like I did my section hikes. I was anxious and couldn't just enjoy being in the moment. I couldn't enjoy nature. And why was that? And so I ended up deciding I would go home and just kind of reevaluate and kind of get a hold of my anxiety. So 2 years later, that's when me and my husband, Jonathan, decided.
And obviously you guys got married and all that good stuff. So what led to, is his desire for the trail as much as yours, or?
No. So we got married, and I was like, okay, so we're going to do the Appalachian Trail, right? Like, you want to do it. This is what this means, marriage. Doing through hikes. And so he sat on it for a while, and then he started watching YouTubers on through hikes, doing through hikes. He started following people doing their through hikes. In 2018, I think he watched some. And he was like, that looks awesome. Like, I don't know if he just thought this was going to be like a slog through the mud and it was going to be terrible. But then he saw videos. He's like, that looks incredible. I would love to do that with you. So, but his desire was not as much as mine. I've always just been connected to the community and the trail and just felt drawn to the Appalachian Trail. Like,
it's hard to describe, isn't it?
It's so weird. It's so weird to describe.
You're sitting there trying to describe it, and I'm sitting here like, yeah, how do you describe that? Because, we're here to talk about the Mountains of Sea Trail as well, but it's so easy to talk about the AT when you've been involved in that community and
had such positive experiences from it.
Which is what I really want and strive for the Mountains of Sea Trail as well.
Yeah, same.
So, and obviously the MST is in your heart as well. But getting back, 2019, you guys completed the trail.
Yeah.
The AT.
Yeah.
Any anxieties, any ebbs and flows with that during that?
Yeah. So I worked a lot on my anxiety and working like, why do I feel anxiety? How can I work with, that sounds weird, work with my anxiety to not go down rabbit holes and just like jump into this just intense thought process that never stops. How can I just enjoy the moment? So by the time I got to the AT, I had methods of, controlling it, but I still felt anxiety. I still had moments where I couldn't get hold of my thoughts, but it just seemed a lot better. Like, I don't know what it was in 2017, but I could not get a hold of
what was happening.
myself.
So if you don't mind, you said you used some methods. What is a method? Because I get anxiety. A lot of people get anxiety, maybe not as intense or people have different varieties of it. So what is a method to kind of gain, because that's mental, I think, for you, right?
It's all mental. Like, I could go out on a trail and just like, physically I can do it. Mentally, that's where I have a lot of issues. But I do a lot of grounding techniques. So I really like to ground myself in nature. So I touch rocks and I feel the rocks in my hands and I rub the rocks. I take leaves and I break them. I just feel it. And then I smell my hands. I smell the greenery, whatever the smell of nature
dirt,
is.
Man. The dirt. Yeah.
So there was my friend Rascal, when I was doing the MST, she'd pick up handfuls of gravel and give it to me because she knew that grounded me, and that feeling, that crunch, that just like feeling of something in my hand and just grounding myself to nature. I know it sounds weird. When I first heard of it, I was like, I'm not going to do that. That's all like,
no, I totally get it.
Stuff. I'm not going to do that. But I did it, and it was like incredible, just like splitting, leaves and smelling inside of them, looking at things and identifying things, just using my senses otherwise. Not all to stay in my head is where things go wrong. But if I'm outside enjoying the environment and feeling, touching, smelling, that really helps ground me. I also know where my mind can go. So when I start going down that rabbit hole, I stop it right there. And I try to change my mindset. I try to be like, okay, yeah, I'm getting rained on. And I'm afraid that, a tree might fall on me when I'm tenting. That's a very irrational fear of mine.
No, it's not.
All the time.
Tara, I have that fear too. So no,
I don't fear bears. I don't fear a lot of stuff, but I do fear trees following me. And that's like irrational thought, and that keeps me up at night when I'm tenting. But I think, okay, let's just rethink this and let's just try to be positive.
So it sounds like to me you take ownership of it.
Oh yeah.
When
definitely.
It's happening and
my mind literally went off the rails in 2017, just went down this rabbit hole and I couldn't come back from it. So 2019 was much better using those techniques.
And that was your year, and you guys summited when? You started and summited when for the AT?
March 22nd is when we started, and then September 1st is when we ended.
All right, perfect. And then after that, when did you start working for Blue Ridge Hiking Company, which is owned by Jennifer Farr Davis, and you also do some guiding. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I worked for a company that I love and fully support called Great Outdoor Provision Company. I used to work for them in Greenville, North Carolina, and I had a boss there named Lindsay. She left about the same time that me and Jonathan left for our thru hike. She left to go work for Jennifer Farr Davis in Asheville, Blue Ridge Hiking Company. So after I finished the trail, she reached out to me and said, hey, we need a caretaker for this season, and we're also looking for guides. So why don't you apply? So I did, and actually instantly got the job. I guess she trusted me enough. So I instantly got the job, which was great. So I moved up to Hot Springs.
How cool is that?
It was Hot Springs. Yeah, Hot Springs is right on the Appalachian Trail. Like I said, I've been connected with the community. At least mentally, I've always been connected with the community. But physically now, too, I was living on trail, living with thru hikers in the bunkhouse at the Appalachian Trailer.
So cool. And in the Appalachian Trailer, if you're hiking north and you're coming down into Hot Springs and the northbound season, how cool was that to...
I just saw thousands of thru hikers and section hikers. Yeah, just walking by my front, like I would look out my kitchen window or I'd sit on the porch and just thru hiker, section hiker, thru hiker, just passing by. And that was a pretty sweet gig. I loved it.
It's really cool too, because as I was stalking you on your YouTube channel, I also noticed that you interviewed various hikers in the 2020 season, which we all know, I mean, thank goodness we're getting ready to get out. Well, I don't know if we're getting ready to get out of COVID, but we're getting ready to get out of 2020 here with the new year. Yes. So just briefly talk to us about that and all. I can't even imagine the hiker emotions that you saw.
It was, so I was able to apply a lot of my grounding techniques, if that tells you anything, to this season. But it started off really good. Like we got there around about March, early March. So we already had like a couple thru hikers just walking through who started January, February. And so when I got there, it was great. But then everything slowly changed once we got to like end of March, April, May. I kind of blocked this part out, but thru hikers would come down and into the bunkhouse, and I would have to be the one that broke the news to them, like, hey, this is what the ATC just said. This is what people are saying. Your thru hike might need to be postponed. You need to figure out this or that. Like, this is what's happening in the world, because they didn't have cell service. So I was usually the one that broke that to them. Because if you've been to Hot Springs, you know that there isn't a lot of cell service either. So a lot of people couldn't really get cell service until they got to a bunkhouse and talked to me. And so it was really hard. That was tough to do because I know how personal thru hike is, and that's to tell somebody that is never fun.
So we'll lead from there. So this is interesting. So we're doing this in two parts. So with part one, it was a getting to know Tara, and I think we got to know you pretty well. And I am going to put your YouTube channel and anything you allow me to put in the show notes where people could follow you.
Sure.
So this is a great ending point for part one, because this is going to lead, COVID is going to lead us into your Mountains of Sea Trail initial was going to be a thru hike, right?
Yes.
And because of COVID, it turned into this awesome fastest known time. All right. So
that is a great place to stop. That's exactly what happened.
All right. Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you, Tara. And we will be back for part two. All right, you guys. I am back with part two with Tara Dower. Welcome back, Tara.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. Welcome to your van.
Thank you so much. So we left off on part one, where Tara was working at the Appalachian Trailer with the Blue Ridge Hiking Company, having to tell people about coronavirus, getting people off the trail, which I think was a good point to lead us to the Mountains of Sea Trail and kind of how you ended up going from, I'm going to thru hike it to I'm going to do the fastest known time. So Tara, why don't you start us off with what is a fastest known time?
Yeah. So a fastest known time, a lot of people always tell me that it seems like they think I made up the name, but people always tell me that that's a bad name for this kind of thing. A lot of people want to call it a speed hike. So essentially, it's a hike that you do really fast. Fastest known time essentially is you just hike a trail or a route of something, of anything, and you just hike it as fast as anyone's ever done it, or run it, or walk it, however you want to complete it.
Take us back to your decision. Okay, I'm going to thru hike the Mountains of Sea Trail, and kind of lead us through what happened.
Yeah, so after the Appalachian Trail in 2019, I wanted to explore another trail. I've always been interested in the Mountains of Sea Trail. I've lived here. I mean, I literally have lived 10 minutes from the Mountains of Sea Trail my entire life. And I've always just enjoyed exploring North Carolina. It's my home state. So I've always been interested in it. And so I decided after the Appalachian Trail, I wanted to thru hike, just a regular thru hike like you would do, throw a backpack on, backpacking bag, and go do a regular thru hike. So I thought about that and I was planning for that. But then I got the job at Blue Ridge and postponed it from March to September. And so this whole time I was like totally about the thru hike. And then COVID happened while I was telling all these Appalachian thru hikers like their hike would probably be postponed. I was also dealing with the fact that like, man, my hike on the Mount Sea Trail will probably be postponed too, just because I don't want to get the virus or receive the virus by some means, who knows. So I wanted to be responsible in that I didn't do that. So I thought it would be over. Then I started playing with the idea, like, what if I form this quarantine crew of friends, family, whoever wants to come with me, and we just, do day hikes and we move me or whoever wants to come with me towards the East Coast, and we kind of like a camper van or use like a car. We just do just day hikes and do stuff like that and try to practice social distancing. Because if you are a fan of the Mount Sea Trail, you know that you can't just camp wherever in a lot of spots. You can't just set up camp. You can, but it's illegal. And I didn't want to do it illegally.
And you kind of have to rely on the trail angels too once you get to a certain point, right?
So you have to rely on the trail angels. So I couldn't do that. Doing a thru hike didn't seem possible when I had to stay with a bunch of trail angels or get rides from trail angels or get rides from even doing a regular hitch. So I decided I was going to do like this quarantine crew idea. And then I was like, what if I look into the fastest known time? Because I was working for Jennifer Hart Davis. And
I don't know how you couldn't think of this stuff constantly working for her.
Yeah, I mean, she's an inspiration. She's hiked the Appalachian Trail. She hiked it in the fastest known time. It's been beat by now, but not by a lot. So she is an inspiration. So I had that.
Let's be clear. She's the standard. Because I don't know. Yes, I want to go ahead and say that, because no matter whoever is trying to do the fastest known time on the AT, they use her stuff. She's the standard.
She is.
So
she does it her way, and I mean that's what made her so successful. Is she didn't follow the rules, and she just did it her way. She's incredible. So I was in my head, I'm working for Jen. I was like, fastest known times. What if I just try to like explore that route? And I saw the fastest known time that for the 900 mile, when it was 900 miles, the trail, I saw it was 22 days. And
oh, wow.
So 1,175 mile trail that it is now didn't have a record.
Oh, I didn't know that. So there was no fastest known time.
There was no fastest
male
known
or
time.
female. Okay.
But what I wanted to do when I was planning this, when I was exploring it, still in the exploration stage, I thought I want to be competitive. I want to stay on the pace that was previously set by Van Duren. Diane Van Duren was the woman who set the record, 22 days, for the 900-mile trail. So I was
So what month was this brewing in 2020?
I'm not exactly sure. I think I was preparing August, July, and I think June it was brewing. So it was a pretty quick turnover.
Okay, when you say preparing, because I cannot even imagine. Okay, so you did set the fastest known time.
Uh-huh.
So what was your time?
It was 29 days, 8 hours, and 48 minutes. So that's about 40.1 miles a day.
Okay, so how does one prepare for 40.1 miles per day, every day?
So the great thing about it was that I was getting to know Jen Farr Davis. I was getting to know Mercury, who is currently on the Appalachian Trail hiking, trying to set the fastest known time going northbound, which she did for women. And so I was getting to know her. I was getting to know Warren Doyle. All of them are fastest known time record holders. So I had a bunch of mentorship. And I found that Mercury was having issues with her shin splints. So I started working out, like trying to do, not rehab, but trying to strengthen like the muscles around my shins, trying to strengthen my knees, because usually I have issues with my knees, trying to strengthen my body. And then I also just did a bunch of running. I did a bunch of trail running, just lots of miles, big days.
Well, you were in Hot Springs still, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so you had...
I hiked up the 900-foot Deer Park Mountain, which is crazy. If you go south on the trail after Hot Springs, you realize it's just a straight up. So I did that a bunch of times, like mountain repeats, hill repeats, but with a mountain.
Now, did you ever go 40.1 day after day after day to see what it felt like?
No, and that's something I recommend for people to do, is to do that, to see how your body reacts to that. But honestly, I didn't really need to, but it would have been beneficial to do that. It was just like one day where I do 40 and then take the next day off. So
Gotcha.
Not really accurate scenario there.
So what led you in? Did it just happen that it was the Mountains of Sea Trail birthday month, or did you actually want to coincide this?
So September's also a big month for me, but I did notice that it was their anniversary. But it's also a big month because that's when I finished the Appalachian Trail with my husband in 2019. That's both of our birthdays. That's our marriage anniversary. It's just a big month. And I wanted to get out there and just do something big on that month. So I decided September would be a good time. It just seemed like a perfect time. Honestly, everything coincided.
Weather's perfect too. So
yes, yeah.
Leaves are changing. We're coming into fall. It still can be hot in North Carolina, depending.
Yeah, I had a couple hot days, but honestly, it was like 2 near the mountains area. And then once I got to the coast, it was nice and cool. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like hot or anything. It was very, very comfortable.
All right. So Tara, I want to go back. There's some things I want to ask you about this hike. So we know why you're doing it. You had the quarantine team, I'm assuming assembled.
Yeah.
And, there's no way we could talk about everything because I did watch the video of the car and like the mishap on the first day. And you guys will have to go to her YouTube channel to hear about that. I want to talk to you about 2 or 3 things. Uh-huh. And the first one is your shoes, your footwear. So you're a former thru hiker, runner, everything.
Yeah.
Tara decided that instead of the shoes that you were used to wearing, to switch shoes. What's up with that, Tara?
So I thought doing trail running, I needed to go to a professional to see what kind of footwear would be beneficial for this kind of thing. So she put me in a completely different shoe than I was used to. And I told her, I'm used to Lone Peaks. I'm used to Zero Drop, the Zero Drop shoe. She put me in, what is it called? I blocked out my mind because it was so miserable.
She put you in something that you weren't used to.
Yeah, the Solomon. Courtney Del Walter uses it. If you guys know trail ultra running, she wears it. So
yeah, she's another incredible bad to the bone lady out there.
I was thinking, Courtney Del Walter, if she wears it, I can wear it. Okay, so let's do it.
Oh my God, I love it.
So I get these shoes and they have they're not Zero Drop. They're the complete opposite of it. But they work for me on my training run. So I think, okay, this is great. I'm going to buy 3 pairs and I'm going to buy them at 8.5. I totally forgot the fact that your feet, when you're thru hiking, they swell to a new size, completely. By the end of the hike, I was wearing a 10. So that's
okay. So we learned our lesson about the shoes. So did you actually go back to the Lone Peaks?
Yeah. So eventually I realized, okay, my feet, because I had these huge, my feet were ginormous. They're swollen. I had terrible blisters. My feet, I could not fit them into my shoes properly. It just was it was like fitting your foot into a child's shoe. It felt like it was just so tight. And that's the only shoes I had. My toes were curled in. I had terrible blisters. My feet
But Tara, you still did the mileage, right?
Yeah,
you still did your 40.1.
I cried through it. I cried through all of it. But then I switched to the Lone Peak. My friend got me, this is the exact pair. She got me these Lone Peaks and everything changed from there. The injuries went away. Don't change your footwear if you're used to something. That is the moral of the story.
All right, you heard it here, folks. From someone who owns the fastest no time right there. Don't change your footwear. Okay, so you got through that.
Yeah, I did eventually.
And then we got to Elkin, North Carolina, and the roads.
Yeah.
Okay, so I cannot let you leave here without talking about the roads because when I really started following you in this attempt, you would go on Instagram and go live.
Yeah.
And talk about the roads. Yeah. So tell us about the roads on the Mountains of Sea Trail. And you did say something different as we were hiking a little bit ago about the road portions. So tell us the reality and then the way you look at it now, I guess.
Yeah. So when I encountered my first road, it was fine. It was honestly fine. And there wasn't a lot of traffic. And so I was like, this is great. If this is how it's going to be, that's awesome. But then once I got past Elkin on my first day of the Piedmont section, so I started at Devil's Garden Overlook and went down past Elkin a little bit to the vineyard. That was my first real day on the Piedmont. And it was after Elkin, after the downtown area, it was 5 p.m. So it was rush hour and people are coming off. I think you said it was 77. I don't know.
Yeah, I-77. Yeah.
People are coming off, going back home. And I didn't have much of a shoulder to walk on. And it was just cars were rushing by. It was overload. So much going on. And then this lady, I saw her before, but she had sunglasses on. She just had like a blank face. It's like she didn't even see me, but she just didn't care. It's like she didn't move over at all. And it almost felt like she was trying to like clip me because she was so close. I had no shoulder and it was really close. I mean, I don't want to act dramatic about it, but I felt like I was going to get hit by this car and this lady and she didn't even care. And at that point I was like, dang, like, is this worth it? Is it worth it? And I know there's 500 miles left on these roads. Like, I don't want to get hit by a car. Nobody's out here with me. Ryan is parked 2 miles up. Like, he doesn't know. If that lady hit me, she probably wouldn't even known. She was just in her own little world. And do I really want to risk getting hit by a car, knowing how many roads there are left? So that's where that whole anxiety started. And it kind of stayed throughout the trail because there is that 500 miles of trail. And some of the roads are great, nice country roads, no one on them. Then some are very stressful, like through Smithfield, parts through Jacksonville, parts through Greensboro. For the most part, it was fine. I have to tell this story because I didn't tell this. I don't think I'll tell this story when I put it on YouTube. But there was a time right before Mebane where I was walking, finishing up a 48-mile day, so my longest day. And
wow, 48. Okay.
Yeah. So I do everything right. I walk against traffic. I have my orange vest on. I wave to make sure I identify that they see me. If not, then I kind of move over a little more. But these guys and four guys in this white work truck were moving over, you know, how somebody would move over. If you see somebody on the road, you'll move over a little bit. So they were doing that. So that's when I waved to say thank you. Instead of waving back, they actually swerved, like acting like they're going to hit me and swerved back into the lane. And I saw them laughing.
Not cool.
So that, like, they literally thought it was a joke to hit me. That's what I realized.
I don't know. I might be hard pressed to be like, okay, forget this. I need a day or two off. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You couldn't take a day or two off to resettle your mind back and stuff.
No, it was just always just intense, like just fear of getting hit by a car and these things happening. That just like, it was just a couple of things that happened I was close to getting hit a couple of times, close to getting hit by these jerks in this work truck. It was a couple things. Most of the people were fine. Most of it was fine. But for some reason in my head, those situations kept playing back.
But you did it.
Yeah.
And you kept walking forward, putting one foot in front of the other.
I did.
So you got through the shoes.
Yeah.
You're still on the road, but you're working through that mentally. Yeah. And you're probably using some of your methods that you told us about.
Was huge.
And then, okay, it seems I'm going down a doom path, but but this is the reality of a fastest known time.
It is, yeah.
It's not all glory and all this stuff. It is at the end when you're done, but getting through it. So then you had the malnutrition.
Did you want me to say how I feel about the roads now?
Yes. How do you feel about it now? Before we get to...
Yeah, so how I feel about the roads now is I kind of see it as, it is what it is. I mean, I should have prepared my expectations a little better. Because I was looking at pictures of the Mountain Sea Trail, I see, you know, the trails and the beach and the mountains, but I never saw, you know, these roads that were busy with cars. So I recommend people who want to thru hike, you know, any trail, but for the Mountain Sea Trail to set your expectations and look into the road portions a little more.
I think it would maybe be even a different perspective of somebody section hiking, because you and I were talking, you know, section hikers go out and maybe they're only going to do 100 miles and they might have 100 miles like on the road with some various sections off the road. So like Tara said, do your homework, you know where you're going to go. So we move on from the shoes. We corrected that. We move on from the road mentally. We're correcting that. Sounds like daily.
Active.
And during all that is this whole, like, you don't feel like eating anymore and food gags you and all this stuff. So
yeah, that's exactly right. So my friend before I started was like, you need to get your nutrition straight. And I was like, okay, Matt, whatever, sure, nutrition. But yeah, I should have really listened to, because I think it was Clayton, after the Greenway, I started noticing I was getting cold more often. I was just in this mental fog.
And Clayton, you're well out of the mountain portion.
Oh, yeah.
Are you in the coastal plains by then?
Yeah, I'm in the coastal. So after where we are right now, we're on the border of the Piedmont section, the coastal section. So I was, 30, 40 miles into the Piedmont or into the coastal section. And I started noticing like a mental fog. And then it just got really intense. It just snowballed after that to where I couldn't keep any food down. I would literally like eat all this food to try to get that nutrition back, and I'd throw it all up. I'm also vegetarian. So there's that involved. So I didn't like the meat. I just don't like meat. It's not really for anything. It's just because I don't
like it.
I don't like it. And so I just like couldn't keep anything down. There's this one picture on my Instagram. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's just like this guy asked me to take a picture in front of this sign at Camp Kirkwood. And it was after one of these really bad days. It literally was like my brain felt like scrambled eggs. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't talk well. And I just felt so weak and cold, and it wasn't cold at all. And that was really scary. But the picture is me just like holding myself, leaning on this Camp Kirkwood sign and trying to manage a smile. And I just wanted to fall asleep right there. It was really intense. I've never felt so malnourished in my life.
And you did say now that you are actually trying to gain your weight back. So you lost 7 to 10 pounds, something like that.
I forget how much it actually was because I didn't weigh myself properly before. It was around 7 to 10 pounds.
All right. So we don't want to leave on a bad note.
Yeah.
So,
no.
Because you did complete the fastest known time. You did complete the trail.
There's a lot of great things that came from that hike.
And are you going to be continuing to put stuff out on your YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm splitting up in 3 parts where I just talk about pretty much everything. I leave out a couple stories, but yeah, I'll continue to post about it.
So I have a question for you, and I guess we'll just kind of end on this and let you sign off for us. What does that feel like?
I feel a huge sense of accomplishment and reliance on myself now, but I just feel a lot of thankfulness for a lot of people. Like, I wouldn't have done this hike. It wouldn't have been completed without the people who made it possible. Ryan, who supported Rascal, who supported me, my mom and dad, who came out, my other friend Ryan, who came out and fed me a bunch of times, and the people from the Mountains of Sea Trail and the Trail Angels. Like, those people made the hike, the trail. I'm so thankful for the trail maintainers and the people who came out and helped me. Jim, Betsy. Betsy was great. She was a mentor on the trail. While I was on the trail, I'd call her up and just rant to her. And so honestly, it's a lot of thankfulness, and I'm so thankful because it wouldn't have been possible. I'm happy and I feel this great sense of accomplishment, but it wouldn't, like I've been saying, it wouldn't have been possible without these people.
Well, you did it. You set the bar high, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So what's next?
So I've been dealing with that in my head, just like trying to figure out what's next. So I will move out west eventually, and I want to, this summer I'm planning on hiking the John Muir Trail, but I'm exploring ultra marathons a little more. I haven't, oddly, I don't know.
Yeah, wait a minute. I know why you're exploring ultra marathons. Courtney DeWalter,
yes,
she's the ultra marathon goddess.
She's a hero of mine. If you don't know who she is, you need to look her up because she's
bad to the bone, and she beats the guys.
She beats all the boys. She's awesome. So exploring ultra marathons, but I also want to hike the PCT and CDT. But I've been playing with the idea, like, I know what to expect from an FKT, the fastest known time. So why don't I just try it again? And I would totally, if anyone wants to support me out there, I would totally do the Mountains of Sea Trail again. I would totally do that again just to see, like, because I know what to expect. So
see how much better you could do.
Yeah. And, challenge myself. It's not about like beating other people. If someone beats me, that's totally cool, like whatever. But challenging myself and trying to push my limits is what I'm out there to do. So really, honestly, anything that'll push me, like mentally with anxiety, anything that'll push me mentally and physically is what I'm after currently.
Awesome. no better way to end this. You guys, I'm going to put Tara's YouTube links, Instagrams, whatever she'll give me. I'll put it all in the show notes. And I hope we'll stay in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out here and meeting me. And I really appreciate it, Tara.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.